I'm doing a lot of salt. Good to see you guys again on Wednesday. My autoimmune thing, post orthostatic tachycardia, something. Yeah, tolerance syndrome. Like part of the issue of the autoimmune disease is sertogenic dysfunction, which affects causes dysautonomia, which then affects blood flow in the brain, which affects neurotransmitter activity. Makes you feel like there's a noose in your head, like you have hypertension. You feel like there's an octopus just like squeezing your skull. Like there's like not a lot of blood flow. You feel like exhausted all the time. Salt dilates those blood vessels, increases the blood viscosity, the volume, which expands everything, which is what your serotonin vascular tone system is supposed to do. That serotonin is supposed to regulate it. Norepinephrine, but these things are in balance. If one of the mechanisms of action is thrown off, the entire thing's thrown off. That's why I think cocaine was very good for a while. Not that you can recommend that to many people because they look at you like you're crazy. The reason why a vasoconstrictor like cocaine would work, or why norepinephrine or Northera would work, is because of that reason. It's providing you while you're standing up. That's the orthostatic part, that people tend to have symptom relief when they're lying down in bed. They look like lazy, fat oafs. You're not fat, and you're not a lazy person per se. It's that it allows for proper blood flow to the brain, and it opens up those capillaries and those blood vessels to where your neurotransmitter activity is a little bit better, a little bit more energy. All of this is based off of, I believe, a B2 androgenic receptor activation, where it's like overly parasympathetic and you have to go the other way. And this is all related to your immune system taking up some of the cellular metabolism. So you're shifted into this like weird state where your cellular metabolism in the brain is basically activated to a point where it's below its normal threshold because it's diverting all this energy towards your immune system response, like you're still sick. Why that's happening, why it turns on and doesn't turn off, I don't know. I've said in the past, there's this analogy of people, if you want to explain to them what chronic fatigue syndrome is, which is a horrible name, it makes you look like you're just a lazy, like, you're tired. Everyone gets tired. Everyone gets fatigued. It's not that. It's so much worse than that. I wish that was the case. It's like when you're coming out of an illness and all the icky parts, the throwing up and all the stomach stuff's gone, and you're feeling a little bit better. You try to do some work, you're in bed, and you're just exhausted. Like your brain can't think. You're just too. That's what it's like. The reason you feel this way is not the illness. Your body has diverted energy, ATP synthesis, cyclic AMP, to the innate and adaptive immune response, sometimes both. There's some uncertainty about whether the adaptive immune response is completely separate from the innate immune response. I think they're interrelated in terms of like the memory of your system being dysfunctional or diseased, where it keeps active even though there's no more COVID, there's no more Epstein-Barr per se. And people take these tests and think, oh, I've reactivated virus. You might have like out of the trough, you have like activated extracellular vesicles of like Epstein-Barr, but whether you have active replicating viral activity, hard to say. And if you test for antibodies, that's your body produces antibodies for everything it's ever. Whenever your body's really sick, it throws antibodies for everything. Like there are people that test positive for HIV that don't have HIV. They'll have test positive for Epstein-Barr, and it's like they have pneumonia. And it's like, well, is it because your immune system's weakened that the virus is replicating again? Not necessarily. It's that your body's producing antibodies to fight the pneumonia, and it's like kind of throwing, the kitchen sink at it. So there's these false positives, and like what happens when you go on antivirals? Does it prove that you have this viral activity that's reactivated? No, it proves that your interferon response is being dampened, and that's why it's working. People say like, is AIDS or HIV, antivirals cured, the AIDS epidemic in like the early 90s, like the deaths started to go down. I'm like, well, not exactly. the part of what went down is that the fact that like people got on antivirals. Antivirals are antimicrobial. They're antibiotics. They do any number of things. They give you an interferon spike, right? So they start to control, like they kind of give you a pump up of your immune system by supporting it exogenously. And, I don't know. It's complicated. What do I know? I'm on high doses of salt, like 10 grams a day, and it's helping. Bizarre. Since the Abilify, where I felt amazing, and then I felt really, really hungry, which is what an SSRI would do, but also a serotonin agonist. And then I got off of it. I took it one day, a half of like 0.5 milligrams of Abilify, and I started to feel these ups and downs of feeling great and then feeling worse than normal. Dysautonomia, but like extreme inflammation. The explanation for why your autonomic nervous system would cause inflammation is very unclear, other than serogenic dysregulation, which definitely affects the immune response. H3 receptor dysregulation, which definitely affects the immune response. Yeah. So yeah, I'm fat still. Don't like it. I don't really know what to do. The testosterone I'm on, I swear to God, it's not 120 milligrams. It has to be diluted. Revive RX, they've been sued by Eli Lilly. They've been sued by the FDA for contamination. The fact that their vials are not ideal. Like there was one case where people thought they were buying tirzepatide. They were getting vials of testosterone cypionate. Can you imagine? All this the viralization of women who were trying to like lose weight, and they try to like grow a mustache. I'm like, is this the side effect, honey, of taking GLP-1 agonists? So yeah, maybe it's not the best company in the world. I've never really had an issue, but today I debated, should I take my underground lab TRT that I've kept for a while? Should I just like pop some of that and see if I feel any different? Just because I am sick of the belly. I'm sick of the fact that I'm on exogenous hormones. Mentally, I feel okay. I think I'm thinking clearly. That's the one thing I worry about. The testosterone is in my brain. Does it work great at higher doses? I don't know. Is it exacerbating the POTS and like it's a false equivalency? I actually don't know what TRT is really like, because there's a good and a bad maybe for someone like me. Hard to say. But whatever's happening right now, if that vial's just severely underdosed, or the weirdest thing happened is that my body's metabolizing testosterone differently all of a sudden, that would be weird. But you can like see, this little puffiness. It's like, what the fuck? I was like, I can't even. No, I can't. It's all just around. I can't even do a clav. It's just puffy. So I don't really know what to do about that. I just had a Pop-Tart. It's probably not the best thing. I can try the other vial and see if that gives me a little bit of extra, je ne sais quoi. Clavicular is coming off TRT right now, speaking of, and he got a girl pregnant while he was on it. How did that happen? Why is he coming off? Is it because of his heart, because of taking all the drugs that his doctors want him to come off? Like, what's going on there? He says it's get his fertility back. You can just go on HCG. Some of the stuff he says is kind of weird. It's like, I decided not to get the Lafort facial surgery in Turkey because my grandparents stole my passport. I'm like, dude, you're flying around the country. You're in Miami. You have a penthouse. You have a security detail. You're worried about your parents and your ID. No, you realize that you don't need to do that because you've made it, and so there's no reason to take that risk of looking like a freak and then losing all your fans. And then VH1 behind the music. The surgery was a bad idea, but I think I'm still mogging. He mogged forever. He's a great glow up. Losing weight's an unbelievable glow up. This is not a glow. This is not good. Dude, just completely dissatisfied with my my work ethic. Let me see if I can sit. That looks a little bit better. But I'm unhappy. I'm like Fat Ed Hardy. Kind of like if I was Ed Hardy's uglier brother, you can kind of see that in my face, a little bit of that. I could see it, 90% sure that he's gay, but no judgment. Good actor. Got kicked off of Mobland, I think, recently for being late all the time and rewriting his lines. Can you imagine how funny that is? Like, when you're on a movie set, the way the hierarchy works in terms of the crew is the crew thinks that actors are debutantes. He's not beating the allegations in the case of Ed. And they think, because of the amount of work they put in, it's like nurses. Like nurses have this, like, actually, it's really liberal. It's almost like people with purple hair that think they're better than everybody else. And they like, if they think cis people or whatever, like normies are like less than, it's this weird, like cultish, like you're not in the same like socioeconomic bracket, so you create your own, or the talent bracket, so you create your own like conclave of just like mediocrity, and you just like snub your nose at people, kind of like speakeasies, which popped up recently in the last 10 or 20 years again as like this sort of like faux speakeasy that's also liberal in nature, and it has guest lists and it's very exclusive, and like I'm like, you see what you're doing? You're like adopting the same thing that you despise, which is exclusivity and status, and it's based off of your predilection. It's the same idea behind like during the Occupy Wall Street movement, when fake Goldman Sachs HR reps would go into the tent cities, like Washington Square Park, wherever it was, and just like say, hey, would you like a job? You like seem like a smart person. We can start you at $700,000 a year. They instantly said yes. It's like, okay, you're full of shit like everybody else. But yeah, I don't. It's the problem with having an autoimmune disorder. Like you just like fucking lose your train of thought. Clav. What was I saying? Do you know? You don't know? Okay. Fuck. Hierarchy. What before that? Abilify. Speakeasies. Hierarchy. What else? What was I talking about? Nurses. Before that. Liberals. Before that. I can't remember what I was saying. Okay. Do you like this shirt? How like the cost shirt? Actually, the opposite side, because I'm like looking at the camera. It like blends in, so it doesn't look like you're wearing a brand. I kind of like it. I don't like how fat I am, but I like the shirt. Maybe I'll just eat a bunch of tuna today. I really do want to eat food today. I'm so vascular too in some ways. And if you can see, can you see? Like, it's weird how like I need to, like, if you look at my torso, I need to lose like 30 pounds. Like 30 pounds. It's incredible. But and my testosterone levels look like I'm not on testosterone. Like it's so bad, man. Like I care about my mental health the most, like the testosterone was all, but like now the dosing is like, okay, my levels at peak and trough look like I'm at like 440 on testosterone at 120 milligrams a week. Last year, that put me at 670. I'm very confused. The only thing that's changed is I've increased my HCG. Hold on. A friend going through a crazy marriage. He should get a divorce, but he's not going to. She wants another baby, and she's withholding sex until they do that. It's amazing. Like, it's amazing. You're dating a batshit crazy girl. You figure it out after the marriage, and she's crazy, nuts. Her parents are nuts, and she wants another baby. And in order to have some, like, to barter with her for some semblance of normalcy, you have to give it to her. And you haven't had sex with your newlywed wife in 18 months. Like, that's the course of the marriage. And you're thinking that's a good idea to get yourself into a position where now she has 2 forms of child support plus alimony and another year or so, or 9 months at least, of the marriage where you didn't divorce her. And it justifies her digging in terms of the quality and standard of living that she's in. $3 million house, artist who made $50,000 a year prior to marrying my friend. It's his fault. I understand, but the one caveat is that he is neurodivergent. He has Asperger's. He has low emotional intelligence. That's the one thing. It's where you kind of feel bad for him. I feel like if a judge in family court was there, man or woman, they can be like, bruh, this girl's got you by the balls. Feel bad for you. Even a female liberal judge would be like, how can you even respect this guy? Like, it's because he treats like these things like jobs. Like he cannot let it fail. He chose the wrong woman, but it's not the wrong woman. He just needs to make accommodations. And I'm like, if I told you enough about this woman, you'd be like, dude, you should like have her like make her just disappear, like unalive. Just kidding, not saying that, but something like she is. No one's allowed over at the house. His family are not allowed to see the baby because apparently they like kiss the baby and she is a germaphobe. He's paid tens of thousands of dollars, more than that. Like when they picked the materials for the house with the developer, the reason it was $3 million house, it's 6,000 square feet, but like the house is more expensive because she picked all this like like no germ, like state of the art materials. When they had an attic issue where like some dust fell down, he had to bring people in like with hazmat suits to do a full clean of the house. So his family's not allowed to see the baby. She wanted him, my friend, to buy the house next door so that her parents could move in and they could watch the baby when they go out on dates. He has a chef in the house. He pays for a wet nurse. He did. I don't know if it's still that way, but like during the early months or whatever, there's a woman there, random person, maybe a Jamaican woman with giant tits, in the middle of the night that would like take care of the baby. And to save money, so she could sleep and she doesn't work. She's like a hunger artist, and he does. He obviously makes all the money, and so he, to save money, started getting up in the middle of the night with the baby to do the bottle. She would sleep through the night. He gets up in the morning. It's hard for me. He had me mediate their relationship they were fighting. He's like, have a conference call. They're in Virginia. I get on the call. Throughout the call, I'm like dealing with this girl's just like having a hard time. I'm just like, you so and so. We'll call her Sophia, just random name. And I started to like kind of dig into her a little bit, and he like defended her on the phone. I was just like, okay, this is so fucked. He wouldn't have defended her if it was just me and him talking. So I'm just like, okay, why am I here? I wasn't being rude. I was just like, maybe you should, like, giving some advice. It was a bit stern, Wasn't calling her a cunt, I could have called her a cunt. I thought about creating this one Christmas picture they have at the White House with Biden and family by the Christmas tree. I wanted to create a collage of pictures I emailed to her where she gets progressively fatter as the camera zooms in. And then like the last picture is like if no one like someone like no one's allowed to have the baby but me. And in that final picture, you see the imprint of the baby over her giant fat belly, and she's kind of like Jabba the Hutt, that would be good. Ooh, can I text that to my friends right now? That's a good one to text. Hold on 1 second. Let me text that. Yeah, the last picture, she's just like the imprint of the baby's in her stomach. That's good. I like that. Should we talk a little bit of the markets? What do I think? 25, 35. I think things are sketchy. I don't think Iran's over. Like, in other words, Iran will be allowed to be, or Iran. There's something amazing has to happen with Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar completely abandoning this sort of alliance they now have with Iran. King Solomon does not want to engage Israel right now. This is a big turnaround for Saudi Arabia. There's something clearly going on here where the act of U.S. aggression has changed Saudi Arabia's position on like unifying Israel, and the Abraham Accord countries kind of unifying with the greater Israel policy being allowed, like taking over of Lebanon. There's clearly something going on here where it's like, oh shit. I mean, strategically, everyone seemed to defer to the United States, and like the Strait of Hormuz, even though it's in closer, vicinity to these countries, they didn't think to, Iranian, science, math schools, brilliant people. They control the Strait of Hormuz with Oman, and like we didn't realize how bad it was going to be if like the United States came in and tried to like force them into a nuclear proliferation treaty and a regime change. A regime change where the entire false revolutionary like guard of people that were against the Khomeini, clan were just Mossad agents, and they were all hung and killed or firing squad, whatever. It was false. It was no alternative coup d'état to support, like in Iran proper. I'm not talking about like Reza or whatever the fuck his name is in Potomac, Maryland. I mean, there. So, dude, I think the cables in the strait, in terms if you want to like make people hate Saudi Arabia, is like get an internet blackout, get a terrorist attack, and blame it on Iran. Those data cables underneath the Strait of Hormuz take internet activity from Southeast Asia to Europe. That possibly it would affect the West as well, like the United States. So that's a big deal. Nord Stream Part 2, entirely possible. You blame Iran. Yeah, I mean, again, it would be bloody and brutal. And also, you'd have to instill a government there, just like in Iraq. We're not just going to take over and then what? Like Ben Gvir is going to take over Iran as a Jew? Like, the population's enormous. It's not like Iraq. Like, I don't exactly know what the end game is, because there is no immediate threat. It's like we can't let them have a nuclear bomb. Okay, they don't have one, but you can't do a ground invasion without massive, casualties. You might not even win. And then Iran has the ability to fire missiles at the desalination plants in Qatar, the AI infrastructure and gas and oil fields in Saudi Arabia. It's like you could like bomb them with a nuke, and they would set off these countermeasures, and you wouldn't be able to do anything to stop them. So I don't think it's over. This like dilemma with Israel. Like, we seem to be like Israel owns us in every way, shape, or form, or at least like international Jewry in terms of policy. And this isn't even a malicious thing to say. I admire how much they rule shit. I mean, it's pretty. It's not like you just like they give it to you. You have to take it, right? So I think it's very impressive. Consequently, that being said, they play the long game. It's not over. Maybe it's over this year. Maybe Rubio is it sounds like JD Vance is done. Rubio is the guy that like finally takes it through. Pete Hegseth steps down. JD Vance walks away. They're labeled as the fall guys. Remember, the guy who was directly negotiating there was Steve Witkoff, JD Vance, and what's his name? Jared Kushner. I don't even know. Like, how would you even allow that slick faggot on your soil, knowing his ties to Israel? Like, I would have killed him. I would have done the 300 thing. This is Sparta. Just push him into the hole. Fucking like hyper skinny, like he's like a walking GLP-1, like the Machinist, Christian Bale. It's just not such a disgusting look. Such a vile human being, you know? I don't know. I mean, we can't judge people based off of things they can't control, but he can control his behavior. Why is a guy that's not even in the government going to, why is a Gaza condo developer that is a citizen, like a pedestrian, like a non-government official going on these deals with like a cabinet, you know, like in this on the staff of Trump's, like Witkoff. It's like the weakest group. Sending JD Vance, Steve Witkoff, and Kushner is like a fuck you. Why isn't Rubio going there? Oh, it's a national security thing. All right, what about one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? And like, it's such a weak, like, fuck you. The whole thing was handled inappropriately. The suspension of disbelief, the Roy Cohn shtick with like, hey, you have to never admit that you're defeated. Trump doubling down, saying the Wall Street Journal, CNN, everyone's lying. The mainstream news is lying about what happened. We had him by the balls. It's like, what, dude? It's just not believable. And do you want that miasma to like taint Rubio? It might. It really might. If you're the Dems, you can go right at the one thing that Republicans love, which is like their military-industrial complex, pushing the, you know, it's not even Republican, but like their war strategy, Americanism, patriot. But you failed. You failed. So if whoever comes out, Rubio's going to have like a running mate that's like kind of impervious to that, because yeah, he's going to say like, listen, we came out of the deal. They don't have a nuclear weapon. We'll make sure they won't have a nuclear weapon. And if things escalate and they violate the terms of the agreement, we will go back in. But the first step is diplomacy. And then we certainly acted with some aggression, but it was restrained. And next time, if they violate the agreement, we don't have to show that same restraint. But that's their choice. You know, we don't want to get involved in wars unnecessarily, but in the interest of national security and the American people, we thought it was the best thing to do. And we came out of this with an agreement, and we'll see what happens. You can say that, but, you know, it's kind of like, and you know, Americans do have a small memory, short attention span certainly, but their memory is like, they just forget shit, you know? They forget stuff so quickly. Like the planning of the future of America is like a long-term thing. A lot of it's dissemination of information to make you feel comfortable and coddled as the wealth transfer continues onwards. But like it's really just gross. It's absolutely gross. Like people have no concept of how these things like come about like in like decades of time. And the people that carry out these policy changes and how they like manifest in terms of the world order, like they're doing this as their career, and then it doesn't get finished, and someone carries the torch forward for them after they retire. So, you know, like the Clintons didn't carry like Citizenship United, or George Dutton's plan of bringing in, you know, the flower children, the anti-war movement, and shifting the Democratic Party to be more like liberal in that regard. You go after these voting demographics, and the Saul Alinsky variants of this, of like this disenfranchised in the late 1970s and early 80s, like how to get them united and vote, you know, a certain way, and how to make them feel like activated and part of some sort of movement, because they're, you know, low IQ or inept or poor. They don't know how to like build something or to have a movement. So you have to create a synthetic revolution under the guise of liberal progressive causes of like race and sex and gender, you know, all that shit, homosexuality. Like, I'm not, my way of having sex is not approved. Like no one's way of having sex is approved, like acceptable to talk about. Like no one wants to talk about that like in a heterosexual sense, you know? It's disgusting. So I don't know. And it's funny too, like liberal Hollywood is so funny because they don't push leading men that are homosexuals. the progressive ideology is like so obvious. Like this is not acceptable because you're alienating 50% of the voting. The viewing public that are women that might actually like want to have sexual fantasies, and you'd ruin the suspension of disbelief that they can if the actor is outwardly gay in real life, which is antithetical to like the progressive political cause or social cause, which is that there should be equality and you shouldn't force people to, live a lie. They should be accepted for who they are. Yeah, except for selling and making money. Right, except for selling and making money. I mean, Hugh Jackman had to wait like 30 years into his career before he was allowed to do a one-man Broadway show. It's a little too on the nose. Plus, marrying a woman like 25 years older than him. Yeah, I don't know. Nick's doing a hell of a job, though. Proud of that motherfucker. God, it's up against it. Like everyone is like this in that circuit are just such trash people. They're just such low IQ trash people that think somehow getting ahead is this sublime loyalty to, I don't know, corporatism. That they can like, I can't. In the movie Rockstar, when Jennifer Aniston finds that there's this coup of the cover band for Steel Dragon, Mark Wahlberg's the lead in that, the vocalist, and he's like thrown out of the band, and they're going to do their own thing, and they're like, "Are you still going to represent us?" Talking to Jennifer Aniston, and she's like, "The one thing I know about this business is you don't give up on talent, and all the talent in this band has just left the room." It's true. Amy Dangerfield, whatever the fuck her name is, Dan Bilzerian, Kazarian, whatever, like Jake Shields, please. It's like Roganism, graphic t-shirt wearing, pseudo-intellectual. You need someone with brains, and their movement is not even the same as the America First movement. Their movement is like, I honestly don't even know that they have an idea of what the fuck they want to do politically, or anarchy wise. I think I have like a group of super soldiers that like break into billionaire Jews' houses and like confiscate their wealth with illegal wire transfers. Like go offshore and convert them into like, I don't know, like Cake Wallet or whatever, mixers and like, whatever. I don't know. How are you going to pull that off? With a gun to their kids' heads and say, transfer $97 billion in illiquid securities to our, slush fund for America. It's like, they're idiots. They're retarded. Like the system, in all honesty, is so corrupt that I don't think it can be done with simple diplomacy. I appreciate the long game. You're fighting AI and this like vast evolution of control with technology that will be oppressive to the America First cause. I think violence is inevitable if, as things go forward. But, Nick's like, no, you keep things tight to your chest, get into politics, make your money, and like, make a difference. I think it's hard to do. It's very hard to do. It's hard for young people to keep things close to their chest politically. There are keggers at Georgetown. Georgetown University, the oldest Jesuit university in the United States, 1789, has a fucking Jew frat, a business frat, maybe something else, but no real Greek life. But they have a Jew frat. The oldest Catholic Jesuit university in the United States. There's a big problem. Okay? There's a big problem that like is beyond the scope of the checks and balances of the Second Continental Congress, of super PACs. It is like the outside independent money that's international. It's the way of politics. You don't go into politics and go to Georgetown, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or leave Wall Street to go to politics, or leave Georgetown to go into a school, into a remedial political career, unless there's something for you. It's not civil service. It is self-service. It is self-aggrandizement. It is selfishness. It is upward mobility, but not directly like means and sales or arbitraging. It is like a different form of it. It's derivative. It's a proxy through the pretense of being in government to have the power to affect legislation. You are paid, and those payments are obfuscated by like in terms of legality and like pumping things or bribing or whatever. There's like means of facilitating that legally that in reality no person would ever go into politics that was interested in self wealth accretion if it was just noble, because like these things wouldn't exist. They'd be like, this is so corrupt, we can't allow it. But the reality is, in order to get into politics now, you need to have a family, because you need to show that you have like, I don't know, a stable background, or you have to be an openly, gay man. That's one of two things you can do. And once you have those liabilities, you're kind of fucked. You have to play the game. And you find out very quickly that you have to take the money, and you have to play the game. And once you have the money, if you don't do what you're told, they'll just destroy you. Like we saw this with Thomas Massey. $33 million into a congressional race in Kentucky, like a runoff, like what the fuck? And you think the problem is like, oh, you know what? We just need like more guys with $50 to $100 million getting into politics. Most people that will make that money probably won't go into politics. They might have a thought of it. They might be groypers from the side, but it's not worth it to them. It's the moral ethics or the ethics of their conviction as groypers is not enough to become Nick Fuentes and become a pariah. Nick Fuentes is so smart and intelligent and well-spoken that he should have made more money doing like being a sellout. Most people just prefer to be a sellout and get their dick sucked and drive a Ferrari. It's true. His idea of kids hiding their political power or whatever, like, it's tough. Like I think they want to take your guns away for a reason. So the one last vestige of like the power of the people is actually unifying in the IRL, not online. And I do feel like people shoot their load way too much online and don't do enough in real life. There's not enough civil disobedience. So that's where we are. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't think we're doing enough. God, my face is so fat. All right, well, I'm going to eat because I want to. Have a great rest of the day.